keep exiting and keep a waiting list, like Sue said, so that as soon as we accept one student, and they're ready to go with us, and not wasting any time.
And that one nice thing about their job is they don't have to worry about, you know, report cards or duties or whatever. I mean, they're just totally devoted to those students, those single one-on-one reading experiences, and they train in reading court provides excellent training for these tutors that come in.
What do they do on early out days or in-service days?
Yeah, it kind of depends. Matt at Fairview has a different schedule. He kind of cuts it off like about 1 o'clock, but there's also a gap in there because of specials and so on. Over here at Fairview, or over here at Adams, Tammy is able to basically keep the same schedule. And so she's able to get all the Adams students in. She'll go to Fairview because she starts at Fairview at noon. She'll get a couple of those students in, and the rest start, just don't receive anything that day.
Do they go to in-service then with the teachers?
They can.
They can.
In the past, sometimes they have, if it's, if the professional development is based on reading, but otherwise they would not.
Christine, she was also working on a teaching degree at that time, and she went to almost every professional development that we offer.
Are they still required to work those 40 hours a week?
They're supposed to work 40 hours, yeah. Any other questions? So I'm asking for permission to ask United Way's board for some money to help support our reading program.
I'll move to approve the United Way application for $2,437 in funding.
Second. Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Thank you, Sue and Diane.
So if you would sign these, I'll get them sent to the United Way tomorrow.
Okay. Abstract of votes.
The abstract votes from the Temple levy actually came the day after our last board meeting. And there were 2,012 yes votes, there were 661 no votes, for a total of 2,673 votes. And so it's been approved by the Board of Supervisors, and so they can just need to receive and file this here.
Yeah.
They need a motion. So it's just information.
Financing of the Carroll Athletic Field.
Just, I had some conversations with Tim Oswald, Piper Jaffrey, and I guess I need to know from the board is how you want to proceed. And as he outlined it, there's a couple different options. You can start the bonding process now and have them prepare the documents and get ready to sell the bonds. The downside of that is you don't know the cost exactly, and as he put it, there's one of two things that usually happen. Either you don't have enough money and you got to go and bond more, which is costly, or you have more money than you need and can't spend it. And so obviously doing it now, you know the interest rate that you waiting. You're rolling the dice on the interest rate, but his recommendation, I certainly would agree with that, is to wait until the bids are in and then do the bonding. But I just wanted to bring that before the board and have the board discuss how they would like to proceed. We have an estimate from the architect, but that's, there's nothing firm on that, and so. It's kind of a crapshoot as far as how much would we borrow. We're going to, there's be two different bonding, because we will bond for $1 million, and then we'll also bond for, we'll bond $1 million against future silo dollars, and we'll also, the remainder minus $750,000 will be bonded against the voter-approved PEPAL dollars. And so, you know, so I mean, you know you're gonna have 1.75 million. But the other part, as far as what you bond against PEPAL dollars is a little up in the air, I guess I'd say.
Can you bond the 1 million now, because that's a definite number that we're going to put towards it, and then not do the PEPAL bond until we have actual numbers? Is it worth doing it now, or?
Well, and that's the question of, because when they sell them, they may just sell them all at once.
Okay.
They don't care where the money's coming from. But I don't, I'd have to ask them that.
So if we wait on that, Ralph, what would be the timeline? Would you
Well,
estimate?
and I laid a tentative timeline from the architect in front of you tonight. You know, I think he's anticipating bids in August, September, and so that they would be ready to go right after the fall of 17 football season, and start the reconstruction, I guess I would say, or the demolition, and then get as much done before winter as they could, and then start again as early in the spring as they could.
But as far as actually releasing them, when do they, I guess, as far as.
The bonds?
Selling, yeah.
Yeah,
selling
he
the
needs,
bond.
he needs, typically they need through 30 to 60 days. So if we know when the bonds are in, and we'd have, you know, we can cash flow it until they would get sold, for example.
So we got.
And
the
we've done the
bids-
same thing with other projects.
Yeah, we got the bids forecast throughout September, it looks like,
Received.
or received in September, so about that. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get a time frame. We're looking at how many months? 6, basically 6 months, so it's a matter of the risk of. Interest rates going up 6 months, but on the other hand, we're not having interest cost either by bonding today, or asking for a.
Aren't they supposed to go to quarter on Wednesday?
Yeah, well, you'll never get that, I mean, that's gonna be
Yeah,
there regardless.
it's not
at
gonna
this
be,
point.
that's not a big number, a quarter, compared to what the interest you have on those type things.
I think it's smarter to bond for the cost of the project once we know the cost. I mean, just having seen bids come in, nowhere near what you think the projected budget would be.
I mean, bids could come in a lot lower than what's projected, they come in higher than what's projected.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Huh?
there's a little mumble over there.
Well, I heard his meeting, so I heard
My, you know, certainly my recommendation would be to
I
wait,
would wait.
and I think,
Yeah.
you know, you roll the dice on the interest rate, and I just think that's a little, one, I think it's safer, two, I think it's a lot cleaner process, in my, we can do whatever the board wishes.
I think we're on a little bit of an interest rate hike, but I think that's offset by the other risk.
Or
We need a
waiting,
motion for this, or just?
waiting.
As long as we have consensus, I'm fine.
Sounds good.
Everybody's okay with that?
Yep, yes.
The next one is the Piper Jaffray engagement letter.
Yeah, they just recommend that we enter into, we did the same thing the last time we bonded with Piper Jaffray. Just outlines what their responsibilities are, and certainly what ours are, and things of that nature, so. There are certainly other brokers that can broker this. We've always used, to my knowledge, have always used Piper Jaffray. And I think a majority of districts do, and so I would recommend that we approve the engagement.
You want to do a motion to approve it?
I would move that we approve the Piper Jaffray engagement letter.
I'll second.
Gina,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes. Next is the survey agreement, options 1 and 2.
they've given us, two options, to do the survey. And Snyder's do this, I think they're out of Atlantic. And they've done a lot of work for us. Well, the option one is using some of the survey information that they did from 2011. That would cost $3,450. Other option two is they just go and do a completely new survey of the area, and you can see that's $7,850. There really hasn't been any significant amount of work done down there on that area as far as utilities or underground or anything like that since 2011. And so both Mike and Jeff feel that just using the 2011 survey and having them update some things would be certainly sufficient for this and saving the $4,000 or so. I don't know if you get X-ray eyes and you could read the survey report that's listed there, but other than that, I just will be reading Latin or something.
Any questions?
No, I do option one. As long as there's something that has, there's a statute of limitation for something to expire, as long as, soil types and those things don't change, so we haven't had anything going on down there that should change it, so I don't see a reason to spend the extra.
And the engineers are okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Can we get a motion to?
Motion to approve option one.
Second.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
And the next is, what is that?
The geotechnical exploration, that's where they will go in and bore into the ground on the track and places like that to see the type of soil that's down there. And then we did get two bids for that. One from CTS, who's done a lot of work with the district. And I think their bid is a little bit higher. I'm trying to find it now with my,
Page 3.
yes, thank you. They will do it lump sum for $6,150, but they are also doing, boring a lot more holes than the other company. And we just feel because of the northeast corner of the field especially, we've had some issues with, is that we feel that the more information that we can get, the better off we'll be with this particular project. And so I think the difference is, it's not that much.
59.40.
So, I think with the difference of the work that they're willing to do and the depth that they're willing to do, I think it's worth the money of going with CTS myself.
When we had problems with the softball field, when Dwayne and I first came on, remember the water
Yep,
issues and
I sure do.
so better safe than sorry now?
I would say. And I think going 15 feet rather than what the other one was 5,
Right, yeah, but there
I
was
just- I think that it's certainly worth a little extra money, that is.
And Rob, that'll be done after next time.
No, I asked that same thing, John, and they will get this on their schedule as soon as possible. They will arrange it with Midwest Track, and so the day that they do the boring, because there's probably, I think there's 4 spots on the track.
It looks like it.
They will be here to patch those immediately. And so that was, I told Jeff, I said, well, we can't have, we had track meets and come up and everything, I said, we can't have them drilling holes into the track, and so we talked to Tom Woolen at Freer Ramsey Cobus and as well as CTS, and they said, and they'll coordinate, they said, we'll coordinate it, you don't have to do anything.
Do you know how big the holes actually are?
Oh, I don't know exactly, but from what I've seen in the past, they're probably about that big, around 7, 8 inches maybe.
I'm smaller than that.
Is that money, is that total amount include patching those holes?
Yes.
Does
That's
everybody-
my understanding, yes. Because I think
does everybody-
CTS.
they subcontract companies.
I move to approve the bid from CTS.
Second.
Wayne,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
Gina,
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Next, we have operational sharing with our WEVA.
Yes, both Jeff DeWark and I have met with the superintendent, business manager, and custodial staff at Orweva. They are interested, as we are, in sharing a maintenance director or building and grounds director, which would be Jeff, that does qualify for the operational sharing through the state. That generates a supplemental weighting of about 5 additional kids, and then, which is nice, but it also decreases the cost of an employee by 20%. And so, we think that this is a situation that can work out. I'm a little, and I voiced that both Jeffs, Jeff Cruz and Jeff DeVora. I would be less nervous about this situation if we didn't have the stadium project coming up. So that concerns me a little bit, but after meeting with him, I think that it's something that we can certainly work through. I think some of the work that they are wanting done, he can do from his office here. And you know, it's not having to be there physically necessarily, 1 day a week or the equivalent of 1 day a week. And so,
Jeff very comfortable with this then? Jeff DeWark.
yeah, I think he shares the same concern I do a little bit, you know, and he wants to make sure that he's not biting off more than he can chew. You know, we'll have to, in my opinion, you know, I certainly would recommend some type of a salary adjustment for him in picking this up, because, you know, there's only so much time in the day, and the work still has to be done, and so, you know, I think that, you know, we'll have to talk a little bit about that when we work on non-bargaining wages and salaries. So,
Like you talked about, you know, some of the work can be done from his office here for them. Probably the biggest thing I'd worry about is they're not worried about him butting seat time 20% over
Right.
there versus here, and having to document when he's working for
Right.
what district or anything like that, because then that eats up a lot more of
It's
that.
unproductive time.
Yeah.
You know, it's unproductive time when he's looking through the windshield driving over there and back. And so, you know, for example, one of the things that they want someone to do is the ordering of custodial supplies and paper towels and toilet paper and cleaning supplies and all of that stuff. And so, you know, he's got experience doing that here, and you know, so I think that after meeting with him, I think we were both a little bit more relieved. I'm sure there'll be growing pains with it like there is anything else, but.
And there's gonna be some of that driving back. and
Yeah,
forth,
absolutely.
working time.
You know, they're
But
gonna,
they're not looking at it as, he needs to be here doing this stuff.
what they're not saying is we want him here 1 day a week,
Yeah,
period,
Yeah.
you know.
they're like,
You know,
I
he's-
would be his,
You know,
I trust his judgment where he's at, doing what, and making sure everything's done.
And, you know, one of the things they want is what he's done here and for the board is develop us a 5-year plan or a
Yeah.
3-year plan as far as, you know, some things that we need to do, and somebody to work with contractors, and somebody to work with, you know, getting you know, specs out to contractors for bids for summer work and, you know, all of those types of things.
Do they have any projects, that are gonna be kicking
Large
off
scale.
in the district that, you know?
No, the biggest one, and in fact, we talked about it, the biggest one is what to do with their, well, it's an auxiliary gym and also used as their lunchroom, the floor of that. And, you know, the surface, what kind of surface they should put down on that, that's really the, and they're working on that right now, and so, I think they were leaning towards a rubber floor like we've had at Fairview, but Jeff and I might have talked them out of that, I'm not sure.
The wording of the agreement is good though, you know, as needed, when not involved in Carroll Inn services during the school year, recognize that demands in either district may fluctuate. That's good.
What about mileage, because it says 100% of the mileage from Carroll to West Side will be paid by Arweva at the Carroll per mile rate. Does that mean that we pay the mileage from West Side to Carroll?
Or providing the vehicle.
Okay.
So even if we give them a vehicle, are we still pay mileage?
Correct. Paid to the district. Most likely what we will do is he will keep track of his miles when he drives over there, just like he does in district now. And we currently pay that at the rate of, what, 40 cents a mile, I think? Well, he'll keep track of his Arweva miles, and we bill twice a year for this type of thing. It's the same thing we're doing with Glidden with transportation. And then we just, when we invoice for 20% of his time, and then at the end of the first semester, then we just include mileage on that same bill, and just recoup it that way.
Is this already accounted for in the budget that you showed us today? The sharing with him?
Well, that would be more, accounted more in the line item budget that Gary does in the fall.
Okay.
But as far as additional revenue, no, it's not. Because you won't receive any money for this actually until the next year. FY19 is when, because the supplemental weighting will go on next October.
On the October.
On the October count is when that will be done, and so that will drive. It's always a year behind. That's just the way it is. Now, a positive that I've been hearing rumblings of is that originally operational sharing was supposed to sunset, I think in 2 or 3 more years. And I'm hearing that the sunset's gonna come off permanently. And so, that will be a real good situation.
What, in the event that does not happen, what happens to agreements like this? I know they're renewed every year.
Well,
Work
you know,
if
it's a
you're in
good, that's a good question, and that depends is the answer to it. Because I've worked with districts, that said, well, whether we're getting operational sharing or not, we wanna continue because we need somebody like that person, and we're willing to pay that 20%.
So it's
Because they're
up
getting
to
a
the
lot.
district
It's
to
up-
decide.
strictly up to the district, because you may not get the additional funding, but you may get the 20%, you know, and sometimes they say, nah, you know, we're paying that position from that operational sharing money is what some people wanna think, and you know, that's a risky way to run a budget, in my opinion, but it's gotta be what it's gotta be, but it's been done both ways.
To those districts to decide that?
So is everybody okay with the maintenance director operational sharing?
Yeah.
Can we get a motion to approve it?
Move to approve the operational sharing with Arweva for the operations and maintenance director position.
I'll second.
John?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Next is the admission prices for activity events.
Well, the Raccoon River Conference has set, for varsity events, $5 for adults and $5 for students, beginning with the 17-18 school year. currently the admission is $5 for adults and $4 for students. And so that would be one change. And then in the same conversation, I think the board needs to determine whether or not the district wants to charge for sub-varsity admissions. And then all of that rolls into, and what you certainly don't have to tonight set an activity ticket price, but I put it on here for you to discuss and to think a little bit about, is that if it costs more to get into the game, then you probably ought to look at adjusting the cost of an activity ticket. I think currently it's $40. Some districts will have a fee for so much for one. If you have 2 kids, it's a different amount for each, and just kind of goes up the ladder that way. And so, the only motion that we should approve tonight would be the ticket prices for varsity events for 17-18.
And that was what again?
$5 for adults and $5 for students.
So it's just increasing the students by
Most,
$1.
and I would tell you that most students that attend events have an activity ticket. So it's probably not gonna be that big of a change, but, when in a month or two, when you look at the fees for next year, you may want to think a little bit about the activity ticket price. And then, as well as whether or not we should charge for sub-varsity events, because I would tell you, we're the only school in the Raccoon River that does not charge
Only
for
place
sub-varsity.
I've been for junior high games that probably doesn't charge.
Right, you pay to replace else.
And I kind of think people expect to pay,
Pay a little bit.
yeah.
I was working a table for the stadium, and I was telling Rob this earlier, I could have made a good $500. Everybody thought I was there to collect money, and they kept on whipping their wallets out, and I was like, no, we're just talking about our stadium. So they're used to
Well,
doing that, yeah.
Yeah,
a little bit of history there is that when schools started charging, especially for middle school, because I've got experience there when I was middle school principal, but it was $1. Well, if we're gonna charge $1 and we're paying somebody $10 an hour to sit there and sell tickets, and they're selling tickets for 2 hours, we're paying $20, and when the dust settles, you might not have made $20 at the gate, count, because of the people that have activity passes and people at a 4 o'clock event, not all moms and dads can get there to watch their kid play at 4 o'clock. Especially if they're coming from Winterset or Boone or wherever. And so, we decided at that time not to. Well, now they're getting to, places are charging $3 for adults and $2 for students at middle school events. Again, I don't know if you wanna, you don't have to do any sub-varsity, or you can do some sub-varsity. You can just say, well, we're just gonna charge for our junior varsity and varsity events. We're not gonna charge for middle school. That's,
The one thing I did notice with Drew playing sports this year was the chart, they always had a concession stand. Did you notice that? If you paid to get in, they had the concession stand open. I think that kind of, helped paying, because at least you had some place, especially when you were traveling, you had some place to go buy popcorn, because you haven't eaten at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night.
and I've heard that from other schools, that when they come here, they're expecting a concession stand, and we don't
Right.
have
Right.
at some varsity events.
I think one thing we used to do, and I don't know why we stopped, but I think student council at middle school used to run just a table with things to sell,
Mhm.
but I know we haven't done that for a number of years, but it's a pretty good fundraiser, if they want to do that. Was there-
I'm sorry.
Well, just a quick question, I'm just curious, was there any discussion because this was done at the conference level, as to why they charge students the same as adults?
And why they didn't increase the adult charge?
Yeah,
I think it has to do with handling cash.
Handling cash, it's a lot easier to handle in 5s and 10s and 20s than it is to.
And not have to mess with the ones.
I'd agree with that.
That's just my speculation.
And then between $4 and $5 is not gonna keep
No.
a student or an adult going to an
And like Rob said, this is primarily gonna affect students that travel, I think, to away games.
Yeah.
Because most of ours would have tickets, activity tickets.
So we need a motion to accept the Raccoon Valley's, River Valley's ticket pricing, is that what it is?
Well, I think you just need a motion to set the ticket price for varsity events at 5 and 5.
Okay, all right. Are we okay with that? Cool.
Yeah.
I'll move that we set all varsity admission prices for Carroll Sports at $5 for adults and $5 for students.
Second.
Dwayne?
Yes.
Second, Dwayne?
Brad.
Brad.
Brad, sorry. Okay. Jennifer?
Yes.
Gina?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Dwayne?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And then you wanna leave the other thing just with us thinking about that?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, you know, there is something, it doesn't have to be a decision tonight.
If you
And,
charge, like when you charge, whether you charge for a JV or middle school game, who schedules the ticket takers? Right?
yes, Keith and Joyce.
How hard is it for them to schedule ticket takers?
Well, it's easy to assign. It's difficult to keep them who are assigned. In the fall, when those assignments come out, the email system's like a Christmas tree. It lights up like a Christmas tree of people trying to get rid of their duties. And so, that's an entirely different topic. What I wish, it's in the contract, it's in the negotiated agreement.
For
The teachers.
teachers?
And, you know, certainly we'd have some of our hourly folks that wouldn't mind working. But we're not gonna pay their overtime rate, which we would be required to do once they get over 40 hours. And so, that creates some problems, but, you know, some people just don't wanna work the events. And, you know, I think either they or they and their spouse get an activity ticket, don't they?
Yep. That's supposed to be the trade-off.
Right.
The teachers do?
Plus they get paid too, right?
Right. But in a perfect world, I would tell you that I would like to see it out of the contract and subcontract with another organization and pay them.
Pay somebody else to do
To
it?
say, you are responsible for finding ticket takers, sellers, and the district will pay you X. But I'm not sure that would work. It will not work now because of the contract.
Mhm.
We have to wait 2 more years, obviously. So are they required a minimum amount?
I don't think they.
Right now, I think they work 2 events. They would have to work more than 2 events if we did this.
Sure has.
I think there's a lot of parents that would volunteer to do that stuff.
You gotta be careful. In a cash situation, you gotta be real careful and
Or like the Booster Club did an amazing job getting volunteers to work the stadium booths. I mean, we had over 34 volunteers at the telethon from the Booster Club alone.
let me say this again, and I'm no fault of anybody else, you gotta be real careful who you put in handling that cash. I've been in those situations before.
And everything's got a balance, just
Yeah.
like the bank. I mean, the number of tickets off the ticket roll's gotta match the cash. And so, yeah, you're exactly right. It's a lot easier said than done. But, with that, the point you bring up of getting the workers, yeah, that'll be a problem. But it's also a duty that we can assign.
Can you get some examples of the activity ticket prices charged by other schools in our
I
conference
can
room?
get that for you.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if there's, I mean, if they.
It's all over, I can tell you, it's all over the board.
Yeah,
Yep.
But they're all pretty consistent as far as it allows you in every single event that county year, though, right? Or that school year?
Where, yeah, except typically where, unless royalties are being, charged, for example, musicals, plays,
Musicals, or sure.
activity tickets aren't valid there.
But for most sporting events, it's not. really an
Correct,
issue.
all sporting events, all athletic events,
So-
other than
Other
tournaments.
than tournament games.
You know, if we host a tournament game in there,
yeah, 40 seems low.
it's been there for a few years too.
For free and reduced, is that 40 impacted at all?
No, not for
It's
activity
40
tickets.
for no, but for anybody.
Yep.
So what about the idea, like you mentioned earlier, where you make it 50, but if there's multiple kids in the family, you give them a volume discount of $5 or $10 off?
Some districts do that. If you buy one, and say it's 50, and if you got 2 kids in the family, one's 50, one's 40, 3, then it, you know, maybe they're all 40, or it's all over the board. But I can get you that information through the conference, what the conference schools do and what neighboring schools do.
Or if there's one or a couple that you think have a good plan or something like that.
I think
it's
some
all-
information would be good, just to see where we're at, just to engage.
Plus
You'll
we can
see
also-
some that are double ours.
Well, it would help us justify the cost increase too, to the public, if we had to.
Just, are we trying to increase prices, just to increase prices, or is the increase in price needed?
Well, I think most, here's the thing is that, cost of officials are going up. And now instead of 2, you have 3. And so, I would guess, other districts are much like this one. The activity fund has been, expenses have been exceeding revenues. And so, I think they're trying to do that, and I think it's, a lot of it, I really do, I think it's the
Trying to
issue of
balance that
dealing
out.
with $1 bills. And not,
I'm not saying from the 5 to 5, that I
but
think is.
I think that's
I'm looking
the
at
issue more than anything else, is that, and I don't know, I guess, get into that with Keith. Some of it might be not wanting to babysit little kids at football games.
But for his question too, it was more the idea of
I'm
us
looking
to
at from
do the activity
If we're
fund.
Oh.
up in the activity
Oh, I
pass,
see.
it still impacts that activity fund and trying to generate a little bit more
As
money
you
in
know-
that activity fund to balance it out.
Right, because our activity fund has, we've run a deficit, 3 or 4 years prior to this last year. Now, this last year, we were okay. But I think there's a lot more pressure being put on the activity fund from the, what I would call non-revenue sports.
Mhm.
You know, your golf and soccer and swimming and some of those sports that either don't generate any revenue or not much revenue. And then the music program as well. Depends on activity ticket money to help balance out some of their expenses. So, yeah, I would say we could certainly use an increase. I don't know if it has to be a significant increase, but we could certainly use an increase in that fund.
Rob, if you'll get us that information and then we can put it on the schedule to talk about it next time. Next is the cooperative sharing athletic programs. And there's a whole list, and Rob says we can approve them all at once. So if you wanna look through those and see if you have any questions.
No new ones from
There are not
last
any,
year.
no.
It always blows me away how many people come and care for swimming.
Anybody in Western Iowa?
Pretty much.
Yeah. We're fortunate to have that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Panorama, yes,
ACGC.
yeah.
Mhm.
Swim practice every night.
Panorama, isn't that-
Surprised they don't do the other
Those are the morning?
Yeah, it's like 45.
Yeah, it's for new project revenue.
Some kids are not snack.
No, I know, I mean,
I'm sure they don't.
Let's say you don't get it
With
from
that.
a dare coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I move to approve the 2017-18 cooperative sharing athletic programs.
Second.
That was Brad, right?
That was bad. Very good, Gary.
Gina,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Dwayne,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
It was a lot easier figuring it out when one was sitting in that chair and Jen over here, you could just pick out.
I don't get my head around quick enough to see.
What's the raising my hand?
Okay, now on to the budget update reports.
Yeah, just a couple things, and then Gary can share his with you as well, is that, expenses to the published budget comparison, I think everything's tracking, on schedule there, we're 75% through the fiscal year. Keep in mind in the general fund, that's inflated by $2 million, so that has July and August's payroll in there. And the same thing with, in the nutrition fund for non-instruction, there's an additional $10,000 in there that's built in. And so, you don't need to get too nervous about the 125% on debt service on the bottom half of that, because keep in mind you have a double entry there that's being accounted for. And so, other than that, on that one, unless you have any questions, I think it's pretty much self-explanatory. Revenues are running in about 63% of the of this year's revenues are accounted for, and we have about so I didn't update that one number, and about 61%, or depending on what number you use, actually is 61%, but if you include the July and August payroll, it's 72% of the fiscal year expenditures, projected expenditures anyway. On the sales tax, really the only thing I'm gonna point out there is that you see a transfer to debt service that's done at the end of each month of $51,631. That's what I think Gary shared with you, that sinking fund that's set up. It has to be transferred every month, so everybody knows, the board knows, the auditor knows that when that payment's due, that money's there. And so we transfer that in on a monthly basis. I just plugged it in here so I wouldn't forget to include that each month. And so typically, if you go up above where it says revenue bond payment right under January 2017, I would have that $309,000 payment down there in June someplace. This is just breaking that out, same type of philosophy. Then I also plugged in the $250,000 we want to save for this fiscal year's state, and you'll see that moving on through the next couple of fiscal years. So just wanted to point out that that's a little bit of a change from how you've seen that report in the past. Next couple months, we'll be getting some more physical plant and equipment money in, probably more so in April and May than this month, and so.
Hey, Rob.
Any?
Have we gotten all the rebates? I see the rebate for the Fairview project. Are all the
Yes.
rebates now in?
Yes. Yeah, the last one was for some HVAC stuff that we did. I shouldn't say yes so quickly. To my knowledge, yes. Now Jeff may have sent something else in that I'm not aware of. He works a lot closer with Mid-America than I do.
Yep, okay.
Gary, you have your.
Yeah, on the line green sheet, which is our line item budget, you'll notice that general fund, management fund, PEPO, I guess that's it. Like Rob said, those are running in the 60% areas, between 60 and 70%, and we're 75% through the year, but we will have our rather large property tax payment next month, and then some of that will run into May. So you should see that change fairly significantly next month on the revenue side. On the expenditure side, I would point out, we were just talking about the activity fund. They're actually looking pretty decent so far this year. I mean, we're at 73.5% expended. That's not bad, I'm pleased with that. Management fund, don't get excited on that, we're pretty much done with expenditures in that fund, so that won't change very much. But otherwise, yeah, other than revenues running a little bit behind, which this time of year it's always expected, looking pretty good.
Any questions? Going on to correspondence, announcements, and information. Rob has a IASB workshop on there.
If anyone wants to attend that, let me know or let Mary know and she can get you registered. If the schedule doesn't work until the day before, I don't think it's a problem of registering down there the day of either, so.
Probably 75% leaning towards going,
Okay, so,
And then for suggestions for our next board meeting, we need to change that date to begin with. Rob and I were talking about this earlier today, of putting on there something about coming up with incentives for sub-teachers, some kind of plan or ideas to discuss that our next board meeting. Is there anything else that anybody would like to add on that? The board meeting is scheduled on April 17th, and both John and I will be gone for that. Looking at April, the week of April 24th, is there any days that are good?
Would that Monday the 24th work?
I'm fine with that.
depends whether it's raining or not.
I've got a soccer game,
The Monday?
on that Monday.
Okay.
What time is that?
It looks like it's at 5:45.
Usually that lasts 45 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, it's 4-year-old soccer, so if I miss it, it's okay.
What is it, the first game?
Lucy's, no, she played last year, she scored like 10 goals.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
Dominated.
Did.
Would it be better if we started at 6:30 instead of 6?
No, I don't want to quit, it'll be fine, yeah.
What time is the soccer?
I think it's 5:45,
The rest of them.
maybe start at 6:30.
6:30? Start at 6:30.
Okay, okay,
Is that okay?
yeah.
We used to start at 7.
Does that work for you, Dwayne, 6:30 on the 24th?
I think so.
That is way too
I
late.
would have left my phone.
Remember those days, Gary?
Yeah, just start at 7 and get out at about 11:30.
Oh,
jeez.
Can we not?
That's the old days, we're reminiscing. Okay, good deal.
I'd be asleep at the table.
It used to last a long time.
Oh my
That
God.
anymore.
And then remember to put on your calendar the April 5th at noon budget hearing.
Yep.
Gentlemen, did you hear that?
No.
Remember to put on the April 5th at noon budget
Got
hearing.
it. Yep, we got that down.
And that'll be 10-15 minutes, or is it?
Yeah.
Is that- looks pretty-
So we're good for the
You want to
24th,
just Skype this all in, Jan, you come and Skype this all, or
Just
FaceTime
hold it
this
around.
all in?
That's probably one I won't make the trip back for if it's nice, unless somebody absolutely needs me to come.
We can FaceTime you.
You can call me, but I'd be available on the phone if you needed me.
We get a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.